Today we're looking at the close guard from the bottom. And we're going to look at what we're capable of doing. We're going to begin, first of all, is the understanding of the position. What are we trying to achieve when we're in the close guard, primarily the bottom position? First thing I'm trying to do is to submit. Okay, my next end goal would be to try and sweep or take the opponent from being on top to being on the bottom. My third objective would be for me to try and get back up to my feet. My fourth objective would be to transition to an alternative close guard or an alternative position and thereafter progress my game. We're going to start with number one, which is the submissions. Before we get to the submissions, we're going to just talk about distance management from the close guard. When we're in the close guard position, we can control the distance by utilizing the hips and the legs which are wrapped around the opponent, as well as with our arms. We can push as we can pull, we can hold. If I want to keep the distance broken and the posture broken of the opponent, I can hold the head, I can hold the arms, I can go double underhooks. Remember, to mitigate someone's posture is to make it more difficult for them to set up their guard passes. A few ways I can keep the opponent close: I could wrap the head on the armpit. I could also control the head with both of my hands, a double plumb position. I could also go an overhook and a head control. We could also buy time by grabbing behind the triceps, bringing ourselves up and bringing our knot high on the back. If I want to maintain the distance, a few ways to do that would be first to use my legs, to extend my legs to straighten them out and have my hips locked with my spine. Another way to keep the distance is to use my hands as frames. I can have my frames on the biceps or on the shoulders whilst extending my legs and getting my butt off the floor and keeping my spine nice and straight. We're now looking at our submission attacks. Your primary submissions from the close guard are armbar, number one. When attacking an armbar, the first rule is to isolate the arm to which you'll be attacking. I'm attacking Katie's right arm. First thing I want to do is secure the hand. I do that in a number of ways. The one we'll be looking at today is the hand on the same side, grabbing the wrist. Hand on the opposite side grabs the tricep. I take my foot and my leg on the same side of the arm I'm attacking, place it on the opponent's hip. I then take my knee and I point it in to the opponent's shoulder. Don't want to have a gap, point it in. I push up the hip and I cut an angle. You must ensure that the leg on the far side is free to point up to the ceiling as you cut your angle. If you're rigid in the far leg, you're going to hinder your own ability to turn an angle. As I push off the hip, I point my toe up to the ceiling and I pass my ankle in whilst moving my head to a perpendicular angle to the bodies of the opponent, whilst cutting a perpendicular angle to the opponent. My calf on the top leg will shut down high, right at the top of the spine. Keeping the posture broken is key in this point. I can control and keep control with the inside hand on the tricep, whilst my hand that was on the wrist diverts the head, making it easier for me to pass my leg over the opponent's head. Once we've passed over the head, we're bringing our knees together, we're driving our heels to the floor, we're picking our butt up to get the finish. An armbar, one more time. Guys, another thing with the armbar, if you feel you can't keep the opponent's posture broken over sufficiently by simply controlling the arm, then you've got to transfer your arm to the shoulder. So if I've got a tricep grip, right, and I can't seem to get the opponent's posture broken over, I can take my hand that's on the wrist and I can grab the far shoulder and keep that breaking the opponent's posture over. That's if you need help in breaking the posture. Grab the far shoulder, pull it down. The sequence will still remain the same. Foot on the hip, cut the angle, nice 90-degree, pass the head and get the finish. Here as well, guys, we want to have our calf and our heel pushing downwards in towards the floor to keep the opponent's posture broken. If you do cross your ankles, it's not wrong, but do know if you cross your ankles, you lose inward tension on your armbar. So if I come to the armbar and I cross my ankles, naturally I crossed position of the leg has my knees flared open. I want my knees to come together. So when I'm crossing it, it gives me more tension coming inwards to finish the armbar. Next submission from the closed guard is our triangle. A triangle setup, the first thing to understand in a triangle, you require one thing, no matter what position you're in. An arm and the neck. You need one arm and the neck above your hip line and another arm out of the hip line. What do I mean by that? I mean one arm above my waist and one arm below and outside of my waist. If I can do that and I can circle my legs around the head, I'm now in a position to attack with any form of triangle. The method we're going to look at is a very simplistic method for you to begin with, but this will diversify as you get more proficient with your triangles. We're going to control both wrists. We're going to place our leg on the hip. Now, if I'm taking my right leg as the choking leg, my left leg is going to be placed on the hip. I push off the hip to pick my bum off the floor. Simultaneously, I'm holding as low as I can to the wrist and I'm driving the opponent's hand down to their tummy. As I do this, I'm clearing the hand by bringing my bum as high as I can, getting the hamstring on the side of the neck, pulling the calf into the opponent to break their posture. You notice my bum is off the floor. On the downward motion, I'm cutting an angle by pushing off the hip and coming to a perpendicular. Once I'm here, I'm bringing my feet together to close the knot. When the knot is closed, my knees are coming into alignment. They're almost putting one in front of the other. I have to ensure that this arm is firmly seated across the opponent's neck, the opponent's inside arm. My hands can be placed in a number of positions. I can finish by taking my hands, placing it both behind the opponent's head and pulling their head into my choking hammy to get the finish. I can also take my hand, bring it underneath the opponent's armpit, control the head and get the finish. We can also circle around our own knee and connect in a gable grip. My free hand coming around the opponent's head and clasping behind the opponent's head. If the opponent steps up or gives you space between their hamstrings, you can also reach for the hammy to help you pull yourself into a 90-degree angle while simultaneously pulling down on their head to break their posture. Posture is key, guys. If they're able to posture, we lose the position. Now my triangle, this is what it looks like with my legs. 1, 2, my knees are coming into an align. So from here, I'm taking my knees and I'm bringing them in alignment. From here, they're coming in together. So irrespective of how big the guy is, if you can't close your actual knot, that's not a problem. Even if my foot's high on the calf, I can still get my knees to come in and pull my heels to my butt to get the finish. And the next submission is the Omopalata. Omopalata is a form of a shoulder lock. The Omopalata will begin by me first isolating an arm. I can do this in the melee of a hand fight. If I can get wrist control, I'm going to take the wrist and drive it into the side of my hip. Simultaneously, I'm going to clear the other hand out of the way. I can go C-cup, I can go wrist control. From here, the leg on the opposite side to which of the arm I'm attacking will be placed on the hip. Very similar to a triangle or an armbar. What to do is take our knee and place it on the inside of the opponent's shoulder or bicep. So when the foot comes on the hip, we slide on the inside. Now I'm going to push off that hip, keep control of the wrist, and pivot and cut a 90-degree, raising my leg on the shoulder lock side and bring it in front of the opponent's face. I'm now applying pressure inwards with my knee and immediately looking to reach over towards the opponent's waist. I extend both my feet away from me into the opponent's head. Extending my feet into the opponent's shoulder in towards their head to keep their posture broken. From here, I can even cross my ankles and then extend my legs outwards, driving my heels into the mat. I then lean in, turn my legs away, keeping my knees nice and tight. My hand on the far side can either reach around the waist or I can create a grip around the far shoulder. I finish the shoulder lock by taking my head to the mat and elevating my butt. Next submission we're looking at, guys, is the Kimura, a shoulder lock from the closed guard position. What we need to do is, again, isolate one particular arm. We do this by securing a low control on the opponent's wrist. The lower we get, the better. The next thing will be to wrap around the tricep with our free hand. Simple way to set it up: control the wrist, set up, get my chest in, and wrap around the tricep to connect a figure 4 grip. So the figure 4 grip, guys, I've got to ensure I'm grabbing the opponent's wrist, that I'm grabbing with my thumb on the outside for the figure 4. If I figure 4 with my thumb on the inside, I'm going to apply torque to my own thumb, which will weaken my grip. Once we've established a figure 4 control, I can momentarily open my guard if needs be. However, if my guard is open, my knees are providing tension inwards to control the opponent's body or to close up if I feel I'm losing the position. From this position, we're then going to flatten and turn in. My bum is going to come out. I want to take my leg on the top side, the side to which I'm attacking. It's going to come as high as I can over the opponent's back. I can then close up the guard once again. Ensure you keep a bend in the elbow throughout the technique. From here, I'm not trying to take the opponent's thumb to the back of their head. Rather, I'm trying to pivot their forearm on their elbow as if it's a hand of a clock, driving it at that 90 degrees towards the head to get the finish. Kimura. Secure, bend, drop in, chop and close, turn towards the opponent's head. Guys, the little key when you're attacking the Kimura from closed guard, something to bear in mind: when you're finishing it, you're not extending your arm away, you're not straightening the opponent's arm. You're actually pulling in at their shoulder. You have tension coming inwards with the hand that's going around the shoulder. The hand that's on the outside is pushing upwards. Again, maintaining that 90 degree and thinking of it as a hand of a clock. So when we hear, guys, often you see people trying to finish the Kimura, they extend the hand. The straighter the hand gets, the less connection I have, the less leverage I'm able to produce onto the actual shoulder. So we want to keep the arm cutting in tight, so pulling in my support hand. The hand that's going to supply the torque on the rotation will then push upwards to get the finish, not extending away. Guillotine closed guard. The guillotine setup can happen in a number of positions and in a number of scrambles. The crux of it is to take our arm around the neck, provide pressure, and to get a choke. The guillotine finish, guys, there's two of them, an arm in and an arm out. First thing is we've got to take ourselves up to meet the opponent. This can be initiated from a number of positions. We're going to start from a very simple process, which is the hip bump. We're going to initiate by pulling our bum back, opening our guard, posturing an arm, and wrapping the neck. When I do this, guys, I shift my bum a little back so I'm more balanced and secure in my position. If my bum's really up close, I end up trying to keep my position by flexing my abs, which can be a bit difficult. With my bum back and my posture leaning over, it's easier to stabilize myself. My feet are not lazy, they're engaged, they're tense, keeping pressure together. So if the opponent moves that I need to close up, I can always close up. The forearm is across the neck, making a fist on the choking arm. I grab over my fist. I want to make sure that I'm cutting into the windpipe. My elbow and the support hand has been pulled high. Make sure your fingers are not exposed in your choking arm. Do not grab with your fingers exposed. The opponent will grab your fingers and open the knot. I will collapse to the choking arm side and cut my leg across the opponent's back. I'm falling at an angle, guys. Pick up my support and elbow. I'm extending on my hips and I'm cutting the forearm, the blade into the trachea to get the finish. When you're at this top position and you're trying to finish, make sure you've got a tight grip on the neck before you fall to sit. If you fall to sit with a weak grip, then very likely you're going to lose the position. To keep the position tight, you can also keep your chin biting in on the opponent's shoulder or trap. An arm-in guillotine is initiated in the same way with this particular setup. We come up as if we're doing a hip bump, we open the knot, tension on the legs, bump back. And I encircle the head and I punch my hand all the way through, guys. I want to almost see my fist on the armpit side. I want to grab my fist and I want to pull my hand all the way through. Unlike the arm out guillotine, the arm in guillotine, we're using the forearm and the bicep to finish the choke. We're cutting across the side of the neck and the forearm across the front. Very similar to a rear naked. We have to come around the outside of the opponent's hand. This is why it is an arm in guillotine. There's an arm on the inside of my support hand. Make a fist, create a strong grip. When I'm ready to finish, I'll fall to the head side, lock up my knot, and I finish by sucking my hips into the opponent whilst applying pressure in towards the neck. It's not the same finish as a arm out guillotine where I'm pulling the forearm into the trachea and extending my body. The arm in guillotine is almost as if I'm doing a crunch in whilst extending my legs at the same time to get the finish. So take your body. Hey guys, that's the first pathway in the closed guard system, which would be initiating and beginning an attack. Those are the basic submissions and basic setups from the bottom close. Familiarize yourself with that, and then we'll start looking at our second channel to our second objective, which would be to sweep. Guys, subscribe to our channel. We're going to be putting out more videos like this, and be sure to hit the like button. Sweet. Thank you, Kelvin Bells.